it's important to people just to check in, you know, and honestly, there are times I still call every single manager, and just, hey, I need help really quick. And, you know, they'll just, all right, what's up? What do you need to do? Okay, so the next slide.
I feel left out.
Do you want me to call you, Scott? Ask Eric. Eric's like, uh-oh, what does Rachel want? These are just random things. This to me is do something related to real estate every day. Whether it is, so I brought like little show and tells to be kind of silly too. But I would say create a CRM and start with your friends and family. You will wish you had started earlier on actually putting together your database. Wholeheartedly, this is my most embarrassing thing in real estate. I waited over 14 years to put together my CRM. I was just doing this blindly and, oh yeah, I'm supposed to call so-and-so. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to, I think he called me like last week, or I had no system, absolutely nothing in place. And so to me, the CRM program, and I'll show you guys in a minute, but this is just really important. It reminds you to text your clients, email your clients. It reminds them of birthdays. FYI, your lenders will tell you their birthdays if they don't know. That's a good idea. But lenders will tell you their birthdays, things like that, their home anniversaries, if I didn't say that. Those are big. So I'll explain what I do there. But making connections every day, title and escrow, we all have our phone constantly ringing from whether it's title, escrow, lenders, anybody asking us whether it's coffee, lunch, you know, like I want to take you out, I want to earn your business. They want to earn your business. Use it as they are giving you honestly a wealth of information. And so if you have this information at your fingertips, I'm not saying to not use them. I'm just saying meet with them because wholeheartedly they have information to give you, and maybe you'll actually, that's a great idea. I could use you for X, Y, and Z. And so one of those examples for me is title and escrow. I still to this day use them for whether it's farming like areas. I'm sure you guys have all, you know, heard of that. But one of the things that I do with them is I ask them, hey, can you tell me in X, Y, and Z city or, you know, neighborhood, who's owned their home for 10 years, who's over 40, and I don't know. I guess that would be it. Those are my criteria, you know, or something like that. Then they would tell you, okay, these are the people that did that. It's literally $3 for the list and $6 for like the, at least for mine, but $6 for the labels to be printed out if you don't know how to work the machines, because I don't know how to do that. So I paid $6 and got labels printed out for me with names, addresses, and of course you can get their phone numbers from them too. But I've started snail mailing them. And so, for example, this is like one, oh, well, no, don't go to the next one.
Okay.
In a minute, you'll see it. But this is an example of like a postcard that I've sent out. It just says, do you need to move? I'm really big with the VA, so I'll explain all that. But do you really need to, or do you need to move? And I just kind of throw that out there because I'm like, hey, they've lived in their house 4 years. Let me ask them if they're going to stay. Let me see. Snail mail to me. These are glossy on the front and just kind of boring on the back. I got them from Vistaprint. It took me probably 30 minutes one day to play with it and just create this completely. They have something kind of like it, and I just did it. I created 3 separate ones, and I'm going to mail them out literally January 18th, February 18th, and March 18th to this exact same people. I figure one time they're going to throw it away, right? Like we all get junk mail, throw it away once. The second time they get it, gosh, who is this lady that keeps Rachel? Okay, and then throw it away, right? Third time, what does this lady want? Maybe I do need to move. And, or maybe she's really in the neighborhood. When you've hit them 3 times with mail or anything like that, my total cost for the postcards, the postage, and they can do it all for you too, by the way, if you have a database that you can upload. But like I said, I used title and escrow. So I had Vistaprint send me these, and then I just spent during a movie one night putting labels on the back of these, just kind of, all right, this is boring. And I've gotten at least one call from them. And so to me, it's a really big deal. You know, I mean, this was $1,500, and if I got one sale from it, the return on investment is obviously there. So that's just an idea when it comes to, you know, just making connections. Leave business cards, or like I ordered these pens, you guys can't see them. But it has my name and it has my picture and my information on them. When you go to a restaurant, every single time they have the pens there, right? And you leave the tip. Sometimes people steal the cool pens from the restaurants, right? Or is that just me? But you steal cool pens. Well, if you leave a pen there every single time, if you just, I literally have probably 150 of them that I bought again from Vistaprint, but I just always have a few in my purse, and you just leave them at the restaurants where you actually, you know, live in, give or take. So if you're in Bellevue, just leave the pens there, like at the restaurant. Who cares? It's, you know, 2 months from now, somebody might be like bored looking, oh, who is this person? And then they'll call you, right? It's just ideas. Another one is like walk your neighborhood on Etsy, or probably anywhere. You could probably Google them. But there's downloadable door hangers that you can literally just print and hang on doors in your neighborhood. Like you said, you like to walk. I don't know if you walk your neighborhood, but if you walk, who cares? You just go up and put them on the doors at the same time you're walking your dog. You're gonna do it anyway, so you might as well. And then when you actually have a database built up, time block to actually touch base with your clients. 3 to 5 people a day, depending on how big your database is or whatever. It could be a text, it could be a Instagram message, it could be a call, like it could be Facebook. It's just a touching base. I have these clients that have given me probably 5 or 6 people besides themselves. They moved to California now, but I still follow, like I'm obviously their friend on Instagram. We talk and they still send me people because military. And so I'm just saying, you know, to me, it's just touching base with people that do move because they still have friends and family that they'll refer to. My other one is open houses, and I'm the first to admit it. I don't like them. However, do them. They really are beneficial. I don't enjoy, nobody likes setting up for those. Nobody likes putting out signs, picking them up, risking your life to get out of your car. Like nobody wants to do that, and then sit there by yourself twiddling your thumbs for like 2 hours, right? But ultimately, if you have a lender come with you, I have a lender come with me. I mean, it's only been 3 over the years, but I've had 3 that have come in as random people into an open house, and I've just talked to them instead of selling them. That to me is big. Like, where are you guys from? But instead of using it to your advantage, I mean, you will be obviously, where you are local to Washington right now. You use what they say and like legitimately take it in and use it later. Like these guys came to an open house. I did the open house the next week at the same house. And I was just playing on my computer. I saw the door open and I was like, hey, how are you? And hey. And he was back again. I was like, what are you guys doing back? Oh, you know, we're just checking it out for the second time. I remember they said they were from Austin just because they had told me that the week before using it. So what are you guys up to? Oh, our family's in town. Oh, from Austin. They immediately loved me because I remembered that tiny, tiny little detail about them. Oh, she remembers. So just make those connections outside of have to sell them a house. You know what I'm saying? Like just make that personal connection, and then they fall in love with you naturally too.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So would you save this information? Like, do you just remember it, or you make notes?
I make notes, or like on my open house, I have like an open house sign-in sheet. Nobody ever, I mean, it depends on if they sign in or not. You ask them to, you can't force them. Maybe you can. But I just kind of remembered them, and I just wrote notes when they left so that I had it kind of like, okay, these people are from Austin, but not when they were there. But I only have 3 or 4, I mean, in today's market that come into an open house anyway. So I kind of feel like they stood out, but I did write little tiny notes, Austin, dog, 2 kids. And that was it. You know, I'm like, I'll touch base on one of those later. But yeah, I just remembered. Hi. Can we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Sorry. So, what is a CRM? This is an example of my Wise Agent. I use Wise Agent. You guys can, I know Skyline has one. You guys can use anything you want. Skyline's obviously comes with it. But for example, this is just like, okay, Daniel Peterson on February 6th that has like a little house and some money right there. Daniel Peterson's home anniversary is February 6th. Like David Smith down here, Edward Collins. And then when you click on them, those are their home anniversaries. But when you click on them, it'll say 3 years, 5 years, 1 year, you know, whatever. So I see it coming up. And then like the purple is a birthday. So my clients, I don't know which one, but I would click on that. But I can't remember one of the bull, like their last name is Bulls, but one of them, it's their birthday that day. So I click on it and just send them a birthday card before that. You see that, and I, again, am big on snail mail and email. So I have them set up in my Wise Agent to send out at the beginning of the year all the home anniversaries. And it says, congratulations on another, or happy anniversary on another year, or something like that. And then I just have it ready to go for Daniel on the 6th, James and Miriam on the 17th. And I don't ever have to think about it. So it's like auto done for me. And it just takes a day or two at the end of the year. I don't know about you guys, but in December, when real estate is a little bit slower, if you like set up these tools to start working for you at the beginning of the year, that to me is kind of like my month to play catch up. Yes, we're all trying to still close the end of the year deals, but if it's slower for you, use that time to set something up to make next year even better. That's kind of how, that's what I did in December. So can you go to the next one?
Mm-hmm. Where's an easier
No, you're
way?
good. I know it's
Like there's gotta be a.
there we go. Okay. So for example, you saw the holiday thing. This is an email that I just sent out to all of my clients, and I prepared it again in December, but I did Valentine's Day. It's not perfect. Like I purposely wanted to, granted, I did try to copy and paste so that it would fit on the screen, but so it is really one. But I see my flaws when I like, you know, kind of next to Happy Valentine's Day, I copied and pasted the picture. It's not perfect. But as long as I am in front of my clients, like, you know, once or twice a month, even if they don't read this email, it's, oh, Rachel's, you know, alive and Rachel does real estate. That's right. We all get those spam emails every single day in our email. I have a lender I have absolutely never used before a day in my life, but I must have been on some transaction. He emails me every day and I know his name. I don't know what company, so I'm not gonna like say it right now, but I know his name and every day I'm like, oh, that's, or every other day, somehow I'm on his emails. Okay, that's that guy again. He's in the industry. You know what I mean? And so it's just, you just want to be in front of somebody every day as you're the real estate professional and I can help. So this is just a fluff piece, obviously, but if you use it to your advantage, I do what's called 12 months of emails. So again, I downloaded this from Etsy for like $6 or $7, but it basically gives you literally a format and 12 full emails, basically like this, set up that you can copy and paste. It'll say like insert story here if you wanted to like put your own like spin on it or something. But if you download this for $6, you have 12 emails to send out, or 24 emails to send out all year long, and they're handed to you from Etsy. You don't have to think about it. Like use things to your advantage to get out in front of people. My other big thing is words versus pictures. I guarantee you the first thing you guys saw are the 3 photos instead of, or the 3 like things instead of the verbs or the verbiage. Only because to me, you don't, I mean, that's what draws your eye. Nobody wants to read everything. You just want to be in front of them. So to me, should throw some pictures in there too. A friend of mine uses Client Giant. I've never used them, but Client Giant, you can basically upload like house anniversaries into their system. It just depends on how much you want to spend. But you could say, I don't know, whatever today is, February 20th. If I had a house anniversary coming up on February 20th, I can go to Client Giant. Let's say they have dogs or something, and you can just say they like dogs. They have big dogs or small dogs or something. It would then send them a cute little basket of doggy goodies on their home anniversary. And then you can add in a candle or something cute just to let them know, hey, I'm thinking of you, another year in your home. And again, they will call you on my way here. my CRM literally worked for me. I forgot about this girl and she texted me and she goes, hey, you sold us our house back in 2020. We're thinking about moving for a job thing. Do you think that you can give us comps and help us figure out how to do this? And from my phone, I'm like, that worked out pretty well. You know, it's just using your CRM, and it's probably because I sent them this and they forgot, they didn't open it, but they saw Rachel Jones come up in their email and they're like, yeah, we were thinking about selling soon or something. And it just triggers all these things. Call Rachel and it works. And then obviously make friends on social media. In my opinion, after, you can do it before if you're friends with them. I like to do it after the transactions close. But when you close them, let them be a part of your life because they let you be a part of theirs and they let you see where they're going to sleep at night, where their kids are going to sleep. I mean, they let you know the inner details of their life, whether or not they wanted to or not they did. And so let them into yours. Let them see that you're real. You have a family or you are a human and you went out to a Seahawks game, you know, and it's fun. And then you guys have that connection, you bond, they think you're friends, right? And then they go, oh, they go to a Seahawks game. My friend's a real estate agent. Let me show you. And they pull it up on Instagram and boom, you have a client. You know, it's just making sure to constantly be out there and talk to people. Okay, next slide. I kind of already showed you the postcard. I went ahead of things, but just think outside the box. Again, it's the farming thing for me with title and escrow. I just had a random thought one day and I was like, how can I get more clients? Again, it was in December. I'm like, how can I get more clients? What can I do? And I just called escrow because they're always calling you, right? Or your title rep is always calling you, asking if they can have a meeting. Take that meeting and just literally the only question, how do I get more business? Here's what I want to do in real estate. Here are my goals. Here's how much I want to make. Here's where I live. Here's a neighborhood I like. Help me. They are full of knowledge. Like use people's knowledge to your advantage because I do that every day still. And again, I had no idea I could narrow down, you know, okay, 30 to 35 to 40-year-olds. Again, they've owned their home for 10 years, probably have, I mean, I don't think you can do the kids thing, but you know, have 2 kids and now they need a bigger home or something like that, right? And they have equity. So those people are going to want to sell to move up in the world. Or you get the people that have been in their house for 35 years and it's paid off. Market to those guys. Eventually they're going to want a 1-story rambler, right? Like they're going to want to downsize and avoid those stairs that we always hear about. Okay, next one. Do you guys have any questions, Beth?
I actually do have a
Oh,
question.
you're good.
Yes, I have a question on advertisement.
Okay. This is just a screenshot from Zillow because I wanted you guys to see it. Oh, I don't use Zillow, but reviews. Reviews are huge. Like ask for them. They are even like people remind me every day. It's okay to ask for referrals. It's okay to ask for reviews. In the beginning, somebody actually reminded me literally yesterday. From the beginning, when you meet a buyer on the phone and you're doing basically like a buyer's consultation, whether it's in person or over the phone, and you go over what to expect in a transaction, etc. At the end, say, my goal is to get, example, 5 stars or 10 out of 10 from you. There's no, I mean, yes, on Zillow, there's 5 stars, but you could say
4.5.
Hey, it's gonna be 5. I don't know who did the half. But if you look, like all of these other people have 0 reviews. It's use things somehow to your advantage. It takes a little bit. Zillow obviously wants our money as agents. If you invest in them, no problem. I'm not knocking them, but if you invest, that's awesome. If you don't, you can still have them write a review. You literally, there's a write a review, find yourself. You do exist, and then say, write a review. It'll send you a link. You copy the link and then put it in an email to your clients and say, hey, do you mind writing a review for me? Your reviews will come in and all of a sudden they just put in the house sale that, or the house address that you sold it to. whether or not you pay for Zillow, it's a free thing that you can use to your advantage to advertise. Everybody looks at Zillow, right? So why not use it? So to me, I literally just pulled up Rachel, you know, and I put give or take Washington, but these ones pulled up. And if I was honestly, like, I mean, if I wasn't myself, but if I was looking, I would either call myself or this Rachel Holland person just because they have reviews. And you're like, who are these other ones? What if they haven't done anything? You know, so just make yourself stand out just a little bit. Yeah, next one.
I don't know.
Okay.
There should be like.
I know there should be just a click button. Okay, so I kind of am switching topics now. I was into the CRM and how to market, and now I'm going to talk about how much I love VA and VA offers. And my biggest question, and it's totally fine, but have any of you guys accepted a VA offer? Okay. Oh, good. Okay. All right. So a lot of times I'm from the Puyallup office, and so this is why I kind of warn people. Pierce, Thurston County, they are a lot more, there's a lot more military presence just because the base is there and all of that. I mean, you obviously have the Navy base up here. However, a lot more of it is prominent down south. So we see a lot of it, but retired military, and that doesn't mean, you know, like old, that means they could be 35. Retired, that just means they earned their rights. So, biggest thing that I always say is I really want to educate any agents that genuinely don't know about VA offers. And that's okay, because I hear it every time when I submit my buyer's VA offer. Oh, well, it's VA. We have conventional. And I always hear that. Okay. And so you have to overcome those to me. And this is a big deal, at least for why you should accept a VA offer if you represent the seller. And I was just going to ask, have you guys heard any like rumors about VA offers? Have you heard, oh my gosh, they're a nightmare, or they have extra stigmas attached to them? I don't know. Have you guys heard anything?
Yes.
In the past, we heard of more. You had to pay like the VA funding fee.
Yep.
Or both halves of escrow. VA appraisers used to rake you through the gold. You know, this post is directly on concrete in the basement. You need to replace. And now VA FHA appraisers are the same.
Yeah.
Currently, I don't know how it is, but I see other people.
No, that actually, it kind of, to me, that honestly, it kind of helps to have somebody say that. Because I hear that every single time almost every single time I submit a VA offer in King County. Maybe north of Renton, I'll go ahead and say, so like Renton, Renton, Kent, they could do it. But north of Renton, I always kind of get a teeny bit more hesitation. And that's just my biggest thing, is I kind of want to go over really VA. So the next slide.
Okay.
Oh, I did that one already. Just kidding. The next one too. Sorry.
The next one.
Yeah. Gotta have myself.
I mean,
There we
go.
Okay, so you guys all have this one. Basically pros and cons. Now these are for, well, I'll explain a little bit. For buyers, I am not a lender. I want to preface the rest of this whole thing in no way, shape, or form am I a lender, and definitely confirm with your lender before you do anything. However, with VA, there is no down payment. There's no private mortgage insurance. There's a lot more credit flexibility when it comes to like DTIs, debt to income ratios. Different lenders obviously have different, percentages of what they allow. However, they also have better than average interest rates. Just saying, I know, it could be whatever today's rate is. If you don't have 3.5% down as a buyer, but you're VA, zero down's the way to go. Everybody wants to buy a house for as cheap as possible. Not a lot of people have 20, 30, 40% down. However, we all like to see these back in the day when 2280s, let's not bring them back. But, when 2280s were prominent in every single offer we had to write, that was probably, in my opinion, the hardest time for VA buyers, just because they genuinely, in my opinion, earned that right for zero down and they just couldn't buy. Like they didn't have 20, 30, 40 grand in the bank to put down, because if they did, they would have had a down payment from the beginning. There's no prepayment penalty, and a lot of times there isn't on other ones, but you know, again, VA loans are assumable, which I'll explain a little bit. The cons are there's a VA funding fee, which I know you touched on. So basically, just to explain, it's a fee charged to your buyer on every loan, and the first time you use it, it's 2.15% paid to the Department of Veterans Affairs. The buyer pays that, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Obviously, it increases after the first use. The loan can't exceed market value, so when we go into appraisal process, we'll kind of do that too, and it's only for primary residents. So if you have, I know we can't do love letters, but if you have that seller that secretly tells you, you know, hey, I just really want to sell to a family. We can't, you know, we can't do that. We can't, you know, go into all that. Or I really want to sell to a VA, another veteran or something. Veterans love to sell to other veterans. And I just kind of point out, if they want somebody, not an investor, in their house where they, again, secretly tell you they want a family. Well, we can't limit to that. It is what it is. However, if all of a sudden you get this VA buyer, you 100% are guaranteed they will live in that home. It is a primary residence. That is the only way that loan works. So, and I even have to remind people when they talk about investing, you know, oh, I want to make it an investment. Well, let's talk about that, because it can't be a second family. It can't be a second income. It can't be a rental income, that kind of thing. You can live in it for a couple of years and do whatever you want later. But you do have to live in it. So at least you know, as a seller standpoint, that the buyer is actually going to live in the home. Can you go to the next one?
Mm-hmm.
Rachel.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So, as a listing agent, if they have VA, do you still call and verify with the loan agent? Yes. They're doing that, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go over like what to actually look for in pre-approvals for VA offers too. Again, these are just little things. These are more for buyers, and I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just trying to show any listing agent, for example, that why buyers want to use it and why they come to you going, well, I could go conventional, but you know, this is why it works better from my financial standpoint, and your seller still gets the money. You know, I mean, this is why I'm going this route. I have PMI on my own home and I absolutely hate it. I bought FHA and it'll never go away. And so it's just kind of one of those, like, oh, that really sucks. And I don't want to refi because I was in a 2.65%. So I'd rather just stick with that PMI. But I'm just saying, other people, you know, if they get the opportunity to do zero down, there's no PMI for them. So they're saving money, all of that.
Do you, do anybody know rate appraisals are failing? Because, you know, we're adding closing cost and the 2% fee. When the appraisal fails, the whole deal's dead. In 2010, at one point, we had 35% of appraisals killing deals, all deals.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you do all the work with a buyer, you get a deal put together, we'll buy it for $335, we'll sell it for $335, appraisal $320. So do we have any current
I don't know how many have
stats?
failed, just because, I mean, I don't know. Basically, I try to make sure when I increase like a closing, let's say the house is at 600, right? And then I say I wanted it, or we'll offer 613 and we want 13 grand in closing costs or something like that. I just wholeheartedly make sure that my clients know, hey, if your earnest money, and we'll go into earnest money in a minute, but if your earnest money is only 4 grand on that house or 5 grand, it is what it is, and you might not get that portion back, but you will get everything, I'm trying to get everything else covered for you. I try to make sure that they understand if it's only, and I say only, but I get zero down, 3 to 4 grand out of pocket for your earnest money or anything that can't be covered in case of a low appraisal or something. Yeah, go for it.
As of January, Fannie Mae reports VA loans appraised low 8% of the time.
Thank you. Perfect. So 8%.
January of this year. Well, sorry.
According
According to Fannie.
8%. But no, I mean, those are kind of, I just always try to make sure before I even write the offer that I think it will appraise. I used to again, I don't know, 2021, 2022. If my clients didn't have the 22 AD, which most of mine honestly didn't, if they didn't have that, I would sell my clients, sell my lender, and sell who I am to the other agent. I always make the calls to the other agent. Hey, Drew, my name is Rachel with Skyline. I just wanted to take a quick moment. I introduced myself to you in an email already. So I already sent it, like literally as I click send, I'm also calling because I want them to talk to me first instead of seeing the email. I want to say, and again, Scott said it, but you know, some people don't answer their phone or anything like that. But I try to say, hey, I just sent you an offer. Oh, okay, cool. One, to let you know it's a VA offer because the minute they hear offer, they're excited, and then they hear VA. Oh, and you can literally hear okay. And I just you know, it doesn't make a difference. Like, I just want to always say it's still green in 30 days. It really is. It's the same money. You don't get your hands on any money prior to in a conventional offer, in an FHA offer. But you don't get that money in your hand any sooner. They're still at 30 to 35 days, depending on what you want to do. Or, you know, when you want to close the loan. Lenders can do it faster too, on all loans too, conventional FHA, VA, in my opinion, as long as your buyer's on top of their game with their documents and everything else in general, every loan can go faster than 30 days. They just need to be on top of it too. Like, they can't wait 3 days to do what the lender asks, or 2 days, or wait the 7 days of the inspection time frame. I mean, those are the things that draw out your offer. So when you are looking at VA, in my opinion, it's still going to be 30 days, money's still the exact same amount. You just got to be on top of it. You can't be like lazy and just, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do that one tomorrow. So the next page, or the next slide. Well, this one's gone, but that's it. This page in your little printout, you guys are going to want to keep this. And there's a few other things like minimum property requirements. Basically, this one, you can ignore that, but this one, it just basically shows you the loan requirements for the seller. So obviously, just kind of as a whole for, I guess, the rules of VA, the property has to pass the VA appraisal and meet the minimum property requirements. And people go, what are those? I'll explain those in a second. The VA appraisal, to touch on what Drew said, those appraisals, I mean, even this morning, I have one right now where my VA buyer, I asked the lender, like, hey, what's up with the appraisal? Is it, you know, is it in? We're at day 13, I think. And he goes, well, at this point, it's late. And he goes, I'm really sorry. I'll touch base with the appraiser. And they asked the appraiser what's going on. And within a matter of a minute, I'm so sorry, you'll have it by the end of the day. The one thing that people don't really know too well, have you guys all heard of the word tidewater? I mean, not like in oceans, but like actual tidewater. So tidewater is if if the appraiser is saying you know, they're doing their report and maybe it's not due for 2 or 3 more days, and they are going to issue, quote, tidewater. That means that the lender is saying, appraiser is saying, hey, it's not going to appraise for whatever is on the purchase price, 600,000. It's not going to appraise for that. They won't tell you what they're thinking the appraised value is, maybe 590 or something like that. I don't know. Maybe they're thinking that. They will not tell you that portion. There's nothing you can do to get it out of them, by the way. So basically, they will issue you a tidewater. So if today I know that my appraiser is running late on their turning in appraisal, I feel very confident it's not gonna be low because I have not gotten an email that states, hey, it's going, Tidewater, heads up, you need to start looking for comps and submit the comps that you have to support your decision as to why you offered this much. And they do the same to the listing agent. So I feel very confident knowing even though it's late, I know the value is going to be there. It's just the approved on a vacation or I don't know, did something. So Tidewater is something that, like, in my opinion, as listing agents, you guys should also look for as well. If you hear Tidewater coming, have your comps already still like in that file on your computer, like have your CA there ready to be appraiser if we're going to issue you a Tidewater. That gives you a forewarning, it's not in it value. That's one thing that I do like about the VA, because if they're able to tell you that ahead of time, instead of, hey, it is what it is, you might have a fighting chance to talk to the appraiser before it's set in stone and say, hey, did you see this comp? And most of the time they will tell you, I did see that comp, or actually that one's not sold, so you can't use active listings or something. They have a reason, but they will at least look at what you send them, most of them. Let's see.
I have a question on assumption. So when you've got an assumption, let's say somebody buys it for 300 and a couple years later, they're going to turn around and sell it for 400. And then you've got a loan that's 290. One bank's got to subordinate to the other. Now, VA is not going to subordinate to a new loan, I don't think, and no new lender in the right mind would.
Hold on, start over. I got lost.
Okay, we're good. And if you have a loan, sometimes you would get a first and a second loan.
Oh, you're talking two loans.
So if you want to buy something with an existing VA of 290, but you're going to buy it for 400, so you really need to borrow 375, you need to borrow another 85,000. Are there lenders who would be second position to the VA loan with a rate that's reasonable?
Great question.
Otherwise, assumability only kind of works if the price is about the same.
I would talk to a lender.
No is the answer to your question.
I'm all like, I don't know.
Would VA raise the value of the
No.
loan gonna be, so it's gotta sell for the same thing, or assumability is tough,
Well,
unless somebody has 100,000.
well, that's what I was gonna say, is so I just did an assumable, and that's the one
Oh,
thing.
good.
I will go ahead and be honest, I did my first and only assumable. I
Nobody does.
hated short
I know.
sales. I did like 5 of those in my day, and I've done one assumable. So I literally only have one story to tell you, but it was my client actually said, she goes, hey, I found this condo, and it was in Renton, and she goes, I found this condo and I want to do a VA assumable. And I was like, I looked at my phone being like,
Me too, by the way.
and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't even know what that is. And I remember being like, I've heard it. I gotta figure out what that is. And so I called my lender and I said, I really have to play the dumb card, the ignorant card. I genuinely don't know. I was like, help me understand this. So bottom line is, I forget the numbers. It was just a tiny condo, but I think it was listed for like 330 or 340 or something like that. And he originally bought it for like I think his loan balance was like 250 or something like that. She borrowed the money, the amount that was owed, the proceeds or the profit for the seller. She borrowed the equity he had in the home from her sister, because you can be gifted, or was gifted the money. She was gifted that money. And then that way the sister showed the bank account and all that stuff. She handed through escrow, she handed the seller his proceeds, and then literally took over through Wells Fargo, took over the VA assumable mortgage. It was a process that lasted almost 87 days from start to finish. So just heads up. But it worked out. It makes you want to rip your hair out. It's super stressful. But you know what? If you have like the buyer that wants to do it and the seller that wants to do it, that's great. My only thing that I learned is there needs to be some understanding for the seller if they accept a VA assumable loan. So they each get X amount of entitlement, which we'll talk about because that's on a pre-approval, but they get X amount of entitlement that's gifted, that they've earned their right to use. So if, for example, one of a seller, that seller of the renting condo, he has, he bought it for 267. He is, even though he's out of that mortgage now and she owns it on title, she owns it on record, it's hers. He still cannot use 267, whatever his original, he can't use 267,000 of his VA entitlement unless she were to sell the house. So the minute she sells it, could be tomorrow, could be 30 years. She could keep that thing forever. It is what it is. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna ask, is that a permanent thing? Because FHA is 5 years.
I don't know. I was told it's forever.
5 year. It might be on VA.
I thought
FHA
VA was
is a
lifetime.
5-year thing. As long as they make their payments for 5 years, then
VA.
that goes away. But
No.
VA maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay.
VA, I think, is lifetime. But basically, you know, to me, the VA process, the VA appraisal, there's nothing different. If you go, well, I guess I've talked about assumptions. If you go to the next slide.
Okay.
I think I did this in order. I may have you go one more. Oh, this will work. Okay, so the VA disadvantages, and I always say this is technically, you'll see in a minute, but this is really for buyers. So we've talked about the VA funding fee. It's charged to the buyers by the VA to help keep the program running. They can finance it. I've never in, I don't know, 13 or 14 years that I've done VA, I've never had a buyer want to just pay it right out the gate. But if they do, that's awesome too. I mean, you can, it doesn't matter, but the VA funding fee can obviously be included in your loan. It increases the next time the veteran uses it. I have no idea how much, again, talk to a lender. But the VA loan isn't a loan program that veterans can use again for that investment property, second home, a rental for their kid or anything like that. They can't do that. They have to intend to live in it full time. What's really beneficial to my clients is if, because they're in the military and they might have to go to a new base sometime or something like that. If they purchased a house in Washington and they don't have enough equity to sell it and they would like to get more than $500 or something like that, they'd like to actually rent it out. As long as they, I mean, they bought it, they intended to live in it. If they have to go to Virginia to go for 2 years down there, they can rent this out as long as, I mean, do it on their own. VA is not going to help them, but you can now rent it out. And now you did kind of use it as an investment. I mean, your original plan and goal, which you succeeded at, was living in it, but now you can make it a rental income too, while you have another home in Virginia or Texas or whatever the case is. So to me, I always try to tell, they don't have to sell it the minute they move. They can keep it. It's their right. You just can't go into it thinking it's going to be my rental property or this is going to be something else.
About the assumable.
Yeah.
So if somebody's going to assume this loan, are they also supposed to keep it as a primary residence or they can do whatever they want?
I mean, originally they have to plan on keeping it as theirs, but if they are done with it a year later and somebody's job makes them move somewhere else, they can absolutely rent it.
I'm thinking about assumable, so it's like no bit first buyer.
Oh, assumable, yes, same thing. Yes, they have to use it as their primary residence.
You usually have primary 2 years, 5 years, whatever.
No, just don't, I mean, you just have to plan to live in it. Obviously, we never know what our clients do after we sell them the home or after the lender's done with them. But for all intents and purposes, you should be going into every VA loan knowing that buyer is going to live in it. What they do, even with assumables, but even if they decide to change their mind a year later, it doesn't fall on us or the lender. It's no, I mean, they just decided to sell it.
Most of them have problem with that.
Nope. Next slide.
I don't want to skip
Okay.
over any.
So my big thing, this was just kind of, but how are those disadvantages to the sellers? And then like, can you go to the next one again? So my daughter said I was going to laugh at this slide, by the way, because I put, let's see it again. But in all reality, these are the quote disadvantages, but they're disadvantages to the buyers, not the sellers. And so that's the one like thing I really want to point out is all the horror stories that you hear and all of that. It's the exact same in my opinion. I mean, when it comes to agents or all of that, it's still the exact same process. And it's all buyer disadvantages, if anything. Yeah.
Can I go back real quick? If you do a similar loan for your client,
Yeah.
so how do you get to it?
The seller still pays, I know this, the seller still pays us,
Oh,
just like you normally would, like if it's 3% and 3% or whatever it is.
okay, so on your side. Okay.
Yep,
Oh,
seller still pays as, you know, as usual, or not as usual, but yes, the seller still pays. But sellers still would pay us, and bottom line is you just have to make sure, my biggest thing is every buyer wants to assume another loan, right? Just make sure you talk about the equity that's there, because there has to, I mean, nobody in their right mind, in my opinion, is gonna walk away from a house if I have $100,000 equity. I'll get it later. You know, no, I want it now, and then you can have my house, you know? So just make sure that they understand they do have to come up with that gap of whatever the difference is that is owed to the seller. Next slide.
Okay, come on. And I don't have a mouse. Yeah, just baby steps. Baby
So
steps right to
again,
the baby.
just don't run away from it. This is just my little to make everybody smile. Just don't run away from anything that is quote unknown. You know, I mean, we all, not one real estate transaction, in my opinion, has, unless for you guys, has ever been the same. Every single one is different. Every single, you never have every single purchase and sale has to have 22 and 22B, and this one actually you don't need a 22A because they're cash, or there's always a difference. Maybe they're septic, maybe Snohomish septic is different than King County septic, maybe it's different in Pierce. What are you looking for? There's so many different, like, does it have a well on it? So to me, you are always figuring it out as you go. I mean, that's it. You gotta, and I like to know the answers. I don't ever want to fail. And so I really, really try, how can I get the next answer to whatever the question is that's there? And if I don't know VA, because I didn't know it the first time I got one, I had absolutely no idea. It just takes that learning. And I do like to learn. And in my opinion, if we all, by we, I just mean agents, but like, if agents were to work together instead of thinking like we're all out to get the other one, like, well, I have a secret, I'm not sharing this with you, and I'm doing this. And instead, like, hey, my buyers are not backing out in any way, shape, or form. They just want to come measure to see if their couch fits. Can you please let us in and not think we're trying to, you know, escape from the transaction? It's just the communication. Like, I'm really big on being me, and if I don't know, I'll be honest. Oh, great question. I don't know the answer. Ask a lender. Like, even just now, you know, there's things where I don't know. And so it's okay. Just ask the other agent. And my biggest thing, I've been asked it a lot. How many, you know, when I submit a VA offer, well, how many VA offers have you done? I'll explain it and I'll say, well, I've closed X amount or whatever with the VA, but I do try to let them know, if you have any questions, I can walk you through it. My lender can walk you through it. We're really nice. Like, you can talk to me, text me whenever you want. And I just figure if we work together, because there's other loans like the assumable, I straight up had absolutely no idea what I was doing. Absolutely none. And so I literally had to, Wells Fargo didn't want to talk to me. Because they were like on the seller side kind of a thing. And they were the ones doing the assumable. I was totally like doing this blindly, and I had to ask the other agent, have you done this before? Like, and I had to tail between my legs, just kind of, is this normal? Is this, you know, and she's like, yeah, I've done one before, it's horrible. Or yes, it normally takes this amount of time. And we just worked together. And to me, it just made for a much easier unknown transaction. Yeah.
So sumo is much better than short term.
I got very excited. Yes.
Is that the movie It?
I don't know. I just Google imaged it.
And is that deodorant?
Oh, good call. She's running. Next slide. Okay, so are VA loans bad for sellers? No, not necessarily. conventional loans, anything can go wrong on any transaction. You know, if you have a conventional buyer that has $300,000 down, but they go, our earnest money is only $6,000. And okay, well, it's $300,000 down, fine, take their low earnest money, let's get into contract, let's move on, right? Who's to say that deal isn't gonna fall apart? Just saying, you know, like you don't know if that buyer is going to back out, lose their job, financing failed, they lied on their application for the lender and the lender you know what I mean? The lender submitted a pre-approval off of their word, or I don't know, things can always happen. And so whether it's VA or otherwise, I'm gonna go through the things that as a seller for you to accept a VA offer, like what the house has to have. But other than those things, to me, click those boxes that say VA, because I promise you those buyers want to close. Like they really do. They want to close just as much as everybody else. Okay, next one. Oh,
Did I skip it?
maybe next one. Maybe I put it in there twice. Could be operator error. I don't know.
It's definitely.
Me operator, not you.
Let's go.
Okay. This is one that I already talked about, but I really think that you guys should keep this one. Basically, it's just saying what the VA guidelines will allow. They do allow, when you get a huge closing cost ask on 22A, please don't freak out. Like, it's okay to say no as the seller. I'm just telling people that VA does allow up to 4% for closing costs, prepaids, all of that. I've never actually gotten 4% for my buyer, but you can, I mean, I know you can ask for that. Bottom line is you can check that box too as a seller, or as a seller, you look for this box to be checked. As a buyer, I used to do this in 2020, hoping that agents would see I'm trying to do anything to stand out when you have 10 offers in front of you. It's the second page of 22A at the top where you ask for your closing costs, but there's that box, I want to say like 2 lines or 3 lines up from the bottom. And it says something about seller to pay, if not checked, I think it is like seller to pay the buyer's VA non, what is it? VA non allowable fees or something like that. I think that's it. Bottom line is I used to check that box because I would say, fine, the seller will, or the buyer will pay these for you. Like we're not asking the seller, because that's something else that the sellers go, oh, it's an extra, again, I'm making up the number, $1,500, you know, or $1,800 to accept the VA offer, because you have these non-allowable fees in there. Look for that box checked. That way it's the exact same amount for the buyer or you know, for that buyer or a conventional buyer. Makes no difference. You don't, when you do your estimated net proceeds on the financial sheet, look for those boxes to be checked, because buyers can pay those. They just normally don't, because there's that box as an option that they will pay them. Let me see here. Normally it's 10 to 12 days for the VA appraisals. So again, we've kind of talked about that, and we will go into, go to the next one.
Can I ask about the NPRs?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
We used to have deals where you got an FHA buyer buying a HUD house. The HUD house is gutted and empty, so there's no stove in the kitchen. Without a stove, it won't finance. But the seller's not, the buyer can't do anything with it. So you used to have cases where you sneak a stove in for appraisal, and then you take the stove out before the property. Have they like come to their senses about that? It was the stove in the kitchen. That was
you still need a stove. You still need a stove. They consider it, you need to have a way to cook food, which I totally get, can be argued in a, you got a micro, I get the idea. I get it. I got nothing.
We literally would have people move a stove in for appraisal, and then you got to move it back out before the property management company.
Sometimes a few of these things that I'm going to show you, they just magically appear sometimes. So, you know, it's okay. Myth, obviously loans require down payment. Just so you know, buyers can put money down. So we get buyers where, yeah, their VA, again, it's no PMI. So let's just say they have 10% and they're like, why not throw it at it or pay off the VA funding fee from the beginning or whatever the case is. They can throw money down, and I figure we all know that, but just in case you can. Next one. Okay. Oh, well, it's a repeat apparently.
So a little bit more
the bottom is the better
information.
one. The VA acts as a loan lender. The Department of Veterans Affairs doesn't actually loan out the money. They just provide lenders with a guarantee of promises that the veteran will pay back X amount of the loan, or the loan will be paid back X amount. The biggest thing, and I'll go through this in a minute, but the VA also sets eligibility criteria for veterans, service members, surviving spouses, which give the financial criteria to the lenders. Basically, they can check on what's called certificate of eligibility. You have to have that. There are, and I don't think this is in there. I forget. Oh no. So in order to be get your VA eligibility, you do have to have one of these: 90 consecutive days on active duty, or 181 consecutive days on active duty, or 6 years in the Guard or Reserves, or 90 days under Title 32 orders. So lenders will order your certificate of eligibility for you. Your buyers don't have to have all of that ready to go. But my last slide, so I'm jumping ahead, but my last slide eventually will tell you when you're looking at a pre-approval from a buyer and you would ask, like, do I call the lender? 100% I call the lender. I call them on every deal anyway. But the same way that when you look on a pre-approval, if it says, I'm making it up, looking for a job offer or need a job offer letter before closing, you should probably look at those little 4 or 5 bullet things at the bottom of a pre-approval, because the lenders really do disclose to you what is needed. I mean, to a point, they can't tell you everything, but to a point, they tell you, hey, the buyer doesn't have a job offer, but because of his time in the military and now he's just looking for a job, as long as we have that job offer letter, we can close on X, Y, and Z date. So you want to make sure that you look for that. But the other big one is certificate of eligibility. If that is not in there, some buyers just assume, I'm in the military, I can be pre-approved. You have to have that certificate of eligibility. So on a pre-approval, if they put that's one of the things left to get, you know, like appraisal on a house, and then at the bottom, certificate of eligibility, call that lender and ask, where are they at? Where are you at in ordering it? Did you have it, you know, or was this printed last week and it's on your file now? You know, like, no big deal. But please make sure you look for that COE, because if you don't, it won't close. Next slide.
A question on that? I have a question when it comes to the certificate of eligibility.
They're not meant, appraisals are not meant to like hinder the whole process. That kind of like the scary things where I'm talking about myths or scary stories you've heard about VA or anything like that. I mean, realistically, the appraisals are there for conventional buyers, for FHA buyers. They're there to protect the buyers. They're not there to do anything. They do have certain regulations, which we'll talk about. But in all reality, the bottom is like, it's literally to determine, and I always say to like my buyers when I go through what we're looking for in a home, you just want to make sure that it's safe, structurally sound, and sanitary. If those 3 things are checked off, and I always say in layman's terms to my clients, if your 1 or 2 year old, you know, baby, or your 95-year-old grandma will fall off the deck, that probably is an indicator that there's a safety hazard. Those are kind of the things where it's like, if your baby isn't going to be safe or your grandma's not going to be safe, then probably address those situations in general. But outside of those, they're not that strict when it comes. I mean, the house doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be that staged, flipped, beautiful, you know, with a big red bow on it. It just has to, it can be ugly. It can be outdated. It can have issues just like everything else. It could need this furnace serviced. It could need, I don't know, paint or something like that. We'll talk about paint.
I don't know if other agents have done this, but I'm naughty. I've had a lot of times when a house is plain old not gonna finance.
Yeah.
Conventional VA, FHA, otherwise. It's not gonna finance for obvious reasons. And number 1 is really the weather envelope. From the crown of the roof
Yeah.
Down through the gutters, the eaves, the fascia, the siding, and especially the caulk. I've gotten houses through appraisal, and I've gotten people that said, no FHA or VA to accept my FHA or VA.